Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's a recording of a class given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles in 1974. Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text 13, 14, and 15. So without further ado, we'll start the class. You can pick up the volume of your listening devices. Sometimes the level of recording is low. All right. Hare Krishna.
Tatra upashinvāna sva-pūrveṣāṁ mahātmanām pragīyamāṇaṁ ca yaśaḥ kṛṣṇa-māhātmya-sūcakam ātmānaṁ ca paritrātam aśvatthāmno stra-tejasaḥ snehaṁ ca vṛṣṇi-pārthānāṁ teṣāṁ bhaktiṁ ca keśave tebhyaḥ parama-santuṣṭaḥ prīty-ujjṛmbhita-locanaḥ mahā-dhanāni vāsāṁsi dadau hārān mahā-manāḥ tatra tatropaśṛṇvānaḥ sva-pūrveṣāṁ mahātmanām pragīyamāṇaṁ yaśaḥ kṛṣṇa-māhātmya-sūcakam ātmānaṁ ca paritrātam aśvatthāmno stra-tejasaḥ snehaṁ ca vṛṣṇi-pārthānāṁ teṣāṁ bhaktiṁ ca keśave tebhyaḥ parama-santuṣṭaḥ prīty-ujjṛmbhita-locanaḥ mahā-dhanāni vāsāṁsi dadau hārān mahā-manāḥ. Translation. Wherever the king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of the Lord, and also of the glorious acts of Lord Kṛṣṇa. He also heard how he himself had been protected by the Lord from the powerful heat of the weapon of aśvatthāma. People also mention the great affection between the descendants of Vṛṣṇi and Pṛthā, due to the latter's great devotion to Lord Keśava. The king, being very pleased with the singers of such glories, opened his eyes in great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing.
Maharaj Parikshit is on his true. And what did he meet in every place? Tatra upasannāna. Everyone was speaking very highly sva-pūrveṣāṁ about his forefathers, especially the grandfathers, Pancha-pandava, mahā-manāм. They are not ordinary persons, mahā-manāм. Mahā-manāм and duratmana, two words. Mahā-manāм, a great mind or great personalities. And duratmana means mischievous person. There are two kinds, mischievous and magnanimous. Everywhere. So, the forefathers of Maharaj Parikshit, sva-pūrveṣāṁ, they are not ordinary persons, they are Mahatma. So how one can become Mahatma? It is not very difficult, provided one wants to become Mahatma. Nothing is difficult in this world, provided one wants to have it or to become. So how to become Mahatma? That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Mahātmanāṁ prārtha devi prakīyamāṇaṁ bhajanti ananna manaso. This is Mahatma. Sa-mahatma sudurlava. First of all, Krishna said, Sa-mahatma sudurlava. To get a Mahatma, broadly minded, great personality, it is very difficult to find out. But still, one may try to find out what are the symptoms of Mahatma. That is discussed in Bhagavad Gita. When one understands Kṛṣṇa is the origin or original source of everything, janmadasya jataha, as is indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, that the absolute truth is that from whom everything emanates. That is absolute truth. So what is the nature of that absolute truth? Animate or inanimate? That is also discussed. Abhigya, animate. The origin, source of everything must be animate. In this way, when one comes to the conclusion, as it is stated by Kṛṣṇa himself personally, matta parataram nanyat kinchijasti dhananjaya. My dear Dhananjaya, there is no more superior, objective than myself. So people will not accept this. If I say that there is no more superior person than me, the people will laugh. It may be true or not true, that is different. But if anyone is very much proud of his personality and he says that there is no more superior person than me, then at least at the beginning people will laugh. That is nature. But when Kṛṣṇa says, matta paratarang nanyat kinchijasti dhananjaya, there is no more superior person than me anywhere, then who will accept it? One who knows, he will accept. Yes, Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, how this knowledge is achieved? Because to accept Kṛṣṇa, just like we accept by authority, we belong to the Chaitanya Mahapuru's cult. He preached, his cult means, Chaitanya cult means Kṛṣṇa cult. Kṛṣṇa-vṛṣṇi, simply describing Kṛṣṇa. That was his business. So, in this way, when one understands Kṛṣṇa, not perfectly, one cannot understand Kṛṣṇa perfectly, it is not possible. Even Kṛṣṇa himself cannot understand himself. He is so great. That is greatness. God is great. That the God who is great, he cannot also understand how great he is. That is God. Nobody can understand. But as far as possible, we can understand from the Shastras, Sadhu Shastra Guru, three sources, we can understand and make our conclusion that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme. So that is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mang prapaddate vasudeva sarvamiti sa-mahātmya-sūcakam. People are searching after knowledge, philosophers, scientists, politicians and others, so many. Everyone is after knowledge. Brahma jigyasa, everyone is inquiring what is the supreme, absolute truth. That is possible in this human form of life, not in the cats and dogs of life. So those who are cats and dogs in the form of human being, they cannot inquire. They cannot inquire. Because they may be in the form of a human being, but actually they are no better than cats and dogs. Who are they? Ahara nidra bhayamaithanancha samannamaitat pasubhinarana. Then the eating material necessities of life, eating, we want to eat something, we must eat to keep this body fit. Then we must sleep also after eating, not always, not in this assembly, but after eating you can sleep. There is sleeping place, and not here. That is not good. So, eating, sleeping. Then, after eating, after sleeping, everyone knows, the sex become agitated. Then mating. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. How to protect myself? Because the whole world is full of enemies. This is material world. So everyone is struggling hard. How to protect myself? So these four principles are animal principles. That is the difference, that such animal propensities are there amongst the cats and dogs, and in the human being also these necessities are there. But if we remain captivated only by these four principles, then we remain cats and dogs. It doesn't matter however nicely we are dressed, but we remain as cat and dog, in the category of cats and dogs. The modern civilization is that he is actually a dog, a cat, but he dresses himself very nicely to become gentleman. So Shastra says no, we have to test whether he is human being or a cat and dog. what is. So if we see that people are engaged only in these four business, eating, sleeping, mating and defending, he is cat and dog. Above them, they are inquiring. Athāta brahma jigyāsa, they are inquiring about the absolute truth. They are above these cats and dogs. This is the test. What subject matter he is inquiring. Just like there are big scientists, they are making research if petrol can be substituted. So, in the eyes of the common man, he may become a very great scientist, but those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness, they will take him no better than cat and dog. Because his subject matter is how to eat, sleep, or make, or defend. The subject matter, we have to understand what is the subject matter of this person. In the English proverb it is said, a man is known by his company. Similarly, if the subject matter is animalistic, ahara nidra bhaya maithun, then however he may be big man, we will take him amongst the categories of cats and dogs. Then who is above? That above who is inquiring about the absolute, jigyasu, sva-pūrveṣāṁ, he is human being, jigyasu. He may not know in the beginning, but if he is inquisitive about knowing the absolute truth, he is human. Just try to understand what is the distinction between a human being and cat and dog. So, a human being means he is inquiring about the spirit, soul, or the spiritual world, the Supreme Spirit, God, Kṛṣṇa. He is human being. Otherwise, cats and dogs. It is very easy to distinguish who is a cat and dog and who is a human being. There is no difficulty. What is the subject matter of his inquiry? And what he is after, what he wants in life. Everyone wants to eat very nicely in table chairs and nice plate, and nicely cooked food and palatable, never mind whatever nonsense it is, it must be palatable. So that is eating problem. So in this way, if we analyze, it is not difficult to find out who is a human being and who is a cat and dog. That is, everything can be understood. So when one is inquisitive, jigyasu, and jigyasu means what kind of jigyasu? Inquisitive, sva-uttamam. Jigyasu sva-uttamam. There are fields, different fields of activities. So when it becomes inquisitive to know the ultimate necessity, attantik dukkha nivritti, ultimate necessity, sreya uttama. There are two things, sreya and preya. I've discussed all these things many times. Preya means immediately very palatable. That is called preya. And sreya means ultimately good. Suppose if you take some palatable food stuff, it may be very palatable to you. There are many examples, just like smoking. Smoking, everyone knows, the scientists, the doctors, they declare this is the nonsense thing. It should be avoided. They advertise it in the packet also. But people still smoke. And that is called preya. That is called priya. Priya means immediately, very nice. And shreya means when one gives it up. No, it will keep my health nice. And that is shreya. Try to understand what is shreya and priya. Another example, just like a child, he wants to play whole day. Even Kṛṣṇa was playing with his friends. Mother Yaśaḥ had to call him thrice, 4 times. Then he would come back. That is the nature of children. They want to play whole day and night, but that is not priya. That is not shreya. The mother, the parents take care. My dear boy, come here, take your bath, change your dress, take your food. It is already late. So he does not know that these things are shreya. He wants to play. Just try to understand shreya and priya. Priya means, according to one's position, there are different subject matter of sense gratification. That is called priya. And shreya means for future goodness, ultimate goal. That is called priya, shreya. Therefore, a human being is he who is inquisitive about his ultimate goal of life, to know what is my ultimate goal of life. That is human being. So jigyasu. So when a human becomes jigyasu, inquisitive, shreya uttamam, shreya means ultimate goal of life, and uttamam, tama means darkness. Tama means darkness. Not in the darkness, but uttamam, udgato tamam jasmat, when he transcends this darkness field of activities. Tamasi ma jyotirgama. Don't remain in the darkness activity. Come to the light activity. So when one becomes inquisitive for the light activity, he is human being. He called Jnani. The Kurmis, they are in darkness. Their activity has no meaning. The other day we have discussed Bartha karma bhi. Bartha karma bhi. Bartha means futile, useless. The Kurmis are there thinking, very busy. If you go to see a Kurmi, you say, oh, I have no time. What you are doing, sir? No, I am very busy. I am earning money. So, but Shastra says you are simply wasting your time. Bartha karma. Bartha karma. So Kurmis, they are working simply for useless result. How useless result? Because you have to change your body. Tatha dehantara prapti, there is a fact. You believe or not believe, you are changing your body every moment. So simply you have no eyes to see, you have no brain to understand. You may be, because you are cat and dog, you cannot understand. Because the cats and dogs, they cannot understand that there is another life after this dog's body and cat's body. They cannot understand. So anyone who cannot understand the simple truth of the transmigration of the soul, he is no better than this cat and dog. So these Kurmis are like that. Some of them understand, they at least believe in future life, but they do not know how to stop this transmigration of the soul. That they do not know. They know that it is unavoidable to change the bodies. So there is no need of endeavoring. Therefore they do not know, they cannot know, neither they can do. They simply, yes, there is life, but let me become in more comfortable situation. Just like in this life, they are trying just to become in comfortable situation of this body. Similarly, when they understand that accepting at least that there is next life, they want to go to the heavenly planet, Sarga. But they do not know that that is also not ultimate happiness. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. You read nicely. Abrahma bhavana lokan punaravartina arjuna. Because even if you go to the Brahmaloka, the highest planet, either by good work or by your aeroplane Sputnik, it is not possible to go there by Sputnik, but you can go there by your pious activities. Janti deva vrata devan, pitrim janti prīty-ujjṛmbhita. Janti, you can go, but you have to adopt the means. But these are for the kurmis. Those simply want comfortable life of this body. They cannot understand that however comfortably I may live, I have to give up this body. Then what is my next position? They do not know. They are called kurmi. So when one comes to this point to understand that this is simply futile to work for this body, he is jnani. He is jnani. Jnani means he is inquisitive to know the ultimate goal of life, how I am eternal, how I can get eternal life. In this way he tries for it. That is called jnani, karmic jnani, yogi and bhakta. There are 4 kinds of men. So jnani and yogi, jnani simply speculates and yogi tries to practice. That is the difference. Their aim is the same, but yogi means he practically endeavors, and jnani means he simply theoretical. There's everything. In science also, there is theoretical and practical. So kurmi is in the darkness. Actually, nicely dressed cats and dogs. That is kurmi. And jnani, who understands the futility of simply being engaged for the bodily comfort. He understands after all the body will not stay. So why I am wasting by this way? If there is another business, that is jnani. And yogi means who practically endeavors. So out of the yogis, the bhakta yogi is the best. That is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Yoginām api sarveṣāṁ. Yoginām api sarveṣāṁ. There are many classes of yogi. Out of all these yogis, one yogi who is always thinking of Krishna, he is first class. He is first class. Yoginām api sarveṣāṁ. Madgata antaratmana, madgata, thinking of Krishna only. He may not know very much about Krishna, but simply thinking of Krishna. Oh, that is sufficient. That is sufficient. Here we have got the deity of Krishna, and if you 24 hours see the deity only seeing here, you will be perfect. You will be perfect. Simply by seeing. And then here, then chant. There are so many. Savanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. 9 kinds of methods. You adopt them all, or some of them, or at least one. Then you become perfect. That is Bhakta Yogi. Somewhere or other. Think of jena tena prakarena mana kṛṣṇe nivesaya. That is the instruction of Rupa Goswami. Somewhere or other, just engage your mind in Krishna. Somewhere or other. Teṣāṁ satata-juktana. Krishna also says, satata-juktana. Continuously attached to me. Teṣāṁ satata-juktana. Bhajatāṁ prīty-ujjṛmbhita. Prīty-ujjṛmbhita. Here it is prīty, it is said. Prīty-ujjṛmbhita. So, with love. With love or no love. Without love you cannot think of Krishna. That is not possible. So as soon as you think of Krishna, there is a tinge of love, must be there. So as you increase your thinking of Krishna, then you increase your love of Krishna. That is recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is our ultimate goal of life. Prema pumartha mahān. Prema pumartha mahān. Everyone is attached to those who are human beings, dharmartha kama moksha. The karmis, they want to be religious. They go to temple, church for some material benefit. God give us our daily bread. That is their function. That is still, that is accepted. So in this way, we have discussed many times. So the Jnani, who is Mahatma, that is the subject matter we discuss. So Jnani, the Mahatmas are to be found not among the Kurmis, but on the Jnanis, Jnani field. Just like in India, we manufacture some Mahatma. But according to Shastra, he is not Mahatma because he was, Mahatma Gandhi, I mean to say, he was not on the platform of knowledge. He was on the platform of karmi. He wanted to deliver his countrymen from the clutches of the Britishers. That was his aim. But because he was not Jnani, he could not understand that why I am trying to drive away some people for the benefit of another. That is a great subject matter. So, anyone who is on the karmi field, he is not Jnani. He is not Jnani or Mahatma. Then, who is Mahatma? That is explained in the Bhagavad. Bahunam janmanam ante. After working uselessly for many, many lives, like cats and dogs, trees and plants and like that, evolution. When one works for understanding the ultimate goal of life, Jnani, so Jnanis also cannot understand immediately that Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. They cannot understand. Although it is stated that Vedascha sarvai ahameva vedyam. Through the studies of Vedas, what knowledge one should achieve. When one achieves the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that is, I mean, it's a perfection of Vedic study. But these so-called Jnanis, they are simply bookworm, simply reading Vedas, 4 Vedas. And they say, we are concerned with Vedas. We are not concerned with Krishna. So, just like the Jaggik Brahmana, they were interested with the Vedas. But their wives were interested with Krishna. So they got perfection. So, in this way, Jnanis, karmi are rejected. Karmis are useless. And Jnanis, when they cultivate knowledge, not in one life, because immediately they will not accept that Krishna is the ultimate goal. They are surprised. How Krishna? He was a cowherd boy playing with the cows and calves. He can be, this is Maya. Therefore they are called Mayavadi. They cannot understand. They cannot understand what is the position of Krishna, although they are studying Vedas. So, the Jnanis, though actually, Jnanis, they also immediately can. Therefore, they have to try to come to this position of understanding Krishna of many, many births. Bahunam janmanam ante. Not in one birth. They will have to take birth. That so-called liberation is not possible, because if you have to take birth, then where is your liberation? There is no liberation. Liberation means no more accepting birth in this material world. That is called liberation. So, Bhagavad Gita says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan. Those who are cultivating knowledge, so there is no mukti, because they have to take birth again. So in this way, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapaddati. When he actually comes to the knowledge point, he surrenders to Krishna. Then, Vasudeva sarvamiti sa-mahātmā sudurlabho. This is Maha. When he understands that Krishna is because the perfection of knowledge means to know the ultimate source. Jathāta brahma jigyāsa, janmādasya jataha, from where everything is emanated. But they do not know, the scientists, philosophers, they do not know. They are simply speculating, that's all. Actually they do not know. But when one knows, then he is perfect. And what is that knowledge? Vasudeva sarvamiti. Sa-mahātmā sudurlabha. That is Mahatma. Again, it is further explained. Then what is the business of Mahatma? Suppose he understands, surrenders to Krishna, then what is his business? Simply knowing and surrendering will do? No. Mahātmanām prārthadaivi prakritimāsrita bhajanti anannamanasu. Engaged in service. Not that I have understood Krishna, let me sit down and sleep now. He is not Mahatma. But Vasudeva sarvamiti sama mahātmanām prārthadaivi prakritimāsrita. Devi means spiritual. Spiritual energy. He is in the spiritual energy, not this material energy, ahara nidra bhaya. Spiritual energy. And what is the symptom of being in the spiritual? Bhajanti, always chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So they are Mahatmas. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful lecture by Srila Prabhupada. Many points here, and a good bit of the lecture. He defined Mahatma. He talked about different classes of men, karmis, jnanis, yogis, and then bhaktas by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, getting us to understand and give our hearts to bhakti, which actually is the ultimate. So, dear devotees, this is the time to unmute yourself. You have comments, you have questions, you have connections from this lecture to other points that you may have heard of that you would like to describe. That's all open so we can have some wonderful Krishna Katha. I wonder if Vṛṣṇi can start us off. I know he's on. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept our humble
Krishna,
obeisances.
Parikshit, Prabhu, accept my obeisances. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
I just appreciated Srila Prabhupada's strong description and discussion about the difference between a human being and an animal. It's quite strong and sometimes could be shocking, especially to those who haven't heard these things before. But we really, I know, for at least for myself, I really need to continue to hear that to make sure that I'm trying to endeavor on the right path and not becoming just considering animal propensities. So that Srila Prabhupada continues to strike and hit and emphasize that point, which sometimes is not emphasized, in our day and age, is really a very important thing. Then another idea or thought I had was that, this verse, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha, that after many births of trying to acquire knowledge, someone who's actually got knowledge, they surrender to me, Krishna says. So I'm opening this for the discussion for the devotees on. So how did they get knowledge? how did those people get knowledge after many births of trying to acquire knowledge? How would you say? Do you understand the question?
Yeah. Yeah. Through the mercy of another devotee. That's one of the easiest ways.
So
Or
it's not specifically mentioned in the verse itself.
no, no. But sometimes their births too can happen. They can be around those who have the Vedas available, and they can learn like that. That's also possible.
So I looked in the so anyway, I looked in the purport of the verse, and Srila Prabhupada says when whether a person is following the ritualistic principles or engaging in devotional service, it may take some time, but then when they actually get the result of that devotional service, then they can understand Krishna, not perfectly, but as much as possible.
Mm.
Anyway.
When they get the results of their service,
Yes,
can you explain
yes.
a little more? Mm.
Let's see. We could read I was reading the purport. So let's see. This is the purport to that verse.
Oh, okay.
The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge of that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. So after doing this devotional service after many, many births, he's not talking about just speculating after many, many births. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in spiritual life, and these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, and that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. And it goes on. So that anyway.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that point up. Mr. Prabhupada quoted the text itself, and then you literally have given us greater insight into what Srila Prabhupada meant by reading his purport here. So in the beginning, there's some leaning towards impersonalism. Even four Kumaras were also impersonalists. So and they were born from Lord Brahma. So yeah, we could see that. And for them, they were lucky when they went to the spiritual world and saw Lord Narayan. That's when they changed. They began this personal connection to the Lord. So, of course, the whole pastime unfolded with Jai and Vijay, but still, they themselves got converted from impersonalism to personalism. So, yeah, thank you for bringing this point. That's why I try to pull it up so the devotees can see the purport. Anyone else would like to share their realizations or some takeaways from this? Thank you, Guru. I'll share a little bit of some notes that I took. So this is Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, text 13 through 15. Mahātmanām, great personality, and Duratma, mischievous person. So Srila Prabhupada defined both. One can become Mahatma. It says that is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Symptoms are discussed. Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna says there's no more superior person than me. And Srila Prabhupada said, normally if people hear a statement like that, they may start laughing because they can't quite, imagine the person who make a statement like that. But one who knows will accept that statement. Anyway, the point that we are in Lord Chaitanya's movement, Krishna-māhātmya-sūcakam. And Lord Chaitanya simply describes Krishna. We know the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, which is how Srila Prabhupada also ended this whole lecture. God is so great, he can't even understand how great he is, because it's unlimited. Scientists and philosophers are after knowledge, but that is possible in the human form of life. These scientists are not inquiring about the absolute truths. They know better than animals. There's just 4 ways of living life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So if people are engaged in only these 4, then cats and dogs are also engaged in these 4. So in mentality, they're just like cats and dogs. That's the point Srila Prabhupada made. He also made another comparison. A man is known by his company. The scientists, if they're not inquired about absolute truth, then they are also cats and dogs. If one inquires about the spiritual world, if one inquires about that, then he's a human being. He should at least be inquisitive about Shreya Uttama. And that's when he started describing Shreya and prayer. Shreya Uttama, the ultimate necessity. Prayer means something that's immediately gives immediate gratification or immediately palatable. Shreya means ultimate good. And he gave an example of people who smoke, getting, even though it's now been on the packet, it says it's bad, but they get immediate satisfaction. So they smoke. That's prayer. And in Shreya, the person will actually have good reason to quit smoking so that ultimately his health will be maintained. So prayer is immediate gratification and Shreya is ultimate good. So Shreya Uttama, the future which transcends tamas, darkness, Uttama. Karmis are working for useless results. They say they're busy. They don't know how to stop the whole point. Even those who know about the transmigration of the soul, they don't know how to stop it. They're trying to get more and more comfortable. They know that they will be okay. There will be some transmigration of the soul. There will be another life. Therefore, they want the next life to be more comfortable. They want to go to the heavenly planets. And they try for that, which is what the religions are doing these days. Karmis want a comfortable life, but they still have to give up this body. Jnanis are inquisitive to know the ultimate goal of life, but they do it through speculation, theoretical. Yogis are trying to practice or endeavor, and of all the yogis, the bhakta is the best of the yogis, the one who's always thinking of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says, if we see the deity 24 hours, that person will be successful. That means they will think of Krishna the whole time. But then definitely they will go back to Krishna then. Krishna's abode. Somehow we should continuously engage the mind in Krishna with love. By thinking of Krishna, then the love for Krishna also increases. But Karmis, they go to church and ask for the daily bread. So Mahatmas are simply not to be found among Karmis. Then he talked about Gandhi especially. Gandhi was a Karmi, not Jnani, because his aim was actually political, and that's on the material level anyway. Bahunam Janmanamante, after many lives, one who tries for knowledge. They try for knowledge. Jnanis are simply reading, but they are not concerned directly with Krishna. And then he talked about the Janika Brahmanas. There's a whole pastime about it. They were interested in the Vedas, but their wives were interested in Krishna. This is the whole pastime, which is in the Bhagavatam. So Jnanis are going through many lifetimes, and there's no liberation, there's no mukti. But when they come to the point of understanding Krishna, then they can become Mahatma. One who knows that Vasudeva Sabhaviti Mahatma Sudulabha, that person is rare, Mahatma. But after understanding, they have to engage in service to Krishna. After understanding Krishna, they have to. You don't just hear about Krishna and then sit down to sleep, then that doesn't make you a Mahatma. So we have to engage in service and chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai. So that's some of the points that I put down. I see there is the text in the chat from Dear Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna, peace and humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Since Bhakti Yoga is the topmost of spiritual processes, the question is how not to get complacent about ourselves, thinking that we are in the topmost path. What are some practical ways we can introspect that we are really following this topmost process? Very good question. I wonder if we can take, please try to comment on this question. Dear Krishna Prabhu wants to find out, since devotees are fortunate to be at the topmost of the spiritual process, which is Bhakti Yoga, how do they make sure they don't get complacent? Because we think, oh, we're about the top, and thinking that we are in the topmost path. Some of the practical ways he's asking that we can make sure that, we are keeping the proper mindset when it comes to bhakti and not being complacent. Hare Krishna.
I'm sure that other devotees would have input on this as well, including Dear Krishna Prabhu. But anyway, I think of a couple of things just quickly. Every day in the Bhakti Yoga process, we chant a number of rounds if initiated, and chanting 16 rounds. And to do that well is, that's always a challenge. And to think about that every day and to try to make a good effort to focus on hearing regularly and consistently each syllable, and not get distracted by other things. That takes a lot of sincerity and determination and things like that. So anyway, that's one. And another one would be, that's probably the main thing. And another one would be, to request from people you trust suggestions about how one might improve one's devotional service. Because yes, it's true. We do get stuck in ruts and doing things in a certain way. And although if we were really doing things in an optimum way, we'd be, right face to face with Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. So we have to improve, and sometimes we forget about that. I need to improve. And so sometimes taking help from others who we trust, or even sometimes those people who we may not fully trust, can give us some clues about ways not to be too complacent. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Other devotees, from your own experience, sometimes we get in a rut, and of course we'll get awakened by the mercy of the Super Soul, and through our intelligence. We are in this. What are some of the ways that devotees you've tried to get out of that situation?
I thought of another too, that as you kind of hinted at, Prabhupada, I think you were hinting that Krishna sometimes sends you difficult situations.
Yes.
And we could take it as, we get mad about it, but we could take those challenging situations as Krishna's hand to help us not be as complacent, and to see this is an opportunity to try to become a little more, or quite a bit more, sincere and determined and attentive in our devotional service, and not be as complacent.
Thank you very much. In my own life, sometimes even involved in service, we do different types of services, and sometimes I get some service or something that I'm trying to do myself to either serve Guru or serve even Srila Prabhupada, because I'm second in the generation. My Guru Maharaj is His Holiness Bhakti Swami. I've come in situations that I'm not sure which one I should prioritize. And I have gotten help like that, by something. Sometimes part of the service that I'm doing gets taken away, or something just gets sabotaged in a sense, it doesn't work. And then I realize, oh, okay, this is a message being sent to me. This other service is more to be prioritized more, and that's why I'm having difficulty in the other service. In that way, okay, that's a sign that I should take in other words, I get helped in prioritizing like that. So that has happened quite a few times in my life. So that's also there. But the question that dear Keśava asked is very, very, very important. We need to remember gratitude. If we're grateful that we are devotee at all, we won't be complacent, because we know that devotees are the ones that have the opportunity to go back to Godhead and get out of this crazy material world. That alone, that's being in the back of our minds. And also the points given by Vṛṣṇi, which are very, very important, that would help us. I don't know whether, as we were talking, that some points came to your own mind about this. If it did, you can unmute and share if you want to. And for that matter, anyone else who wants to jump in. Okay.
One other thought is
okay.
one other thought
thinking.
is yeah. One other thought is to do might be consider doing some additional service. It's a little stretching your comfort zone, your complacent zone. Do some other additional service, taking on a little risk for Krishna, and a little challenge for Krishna, either like do some sankirtan, some preaching, some increased responsibility in the temple, some book distribution, some festival program to develop it, or do something in addition to your one's regular service. It's another option.
Yeah, wonderful. These are all very important points. Thank you, Prabhu, for bringing that up also. Any other points in relation to this particular question? Or anything else that the devotees want to bring it up? Read a little bit, another text from Dear Christian Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. And then he said, one very important thing I find useful is very strong association of good and fixed devotees. Yeah. Being around good and fixed devotees, yeah. You will not be complacent then. That is very true. Okay. So that's his own contribution to this same question. Hare Krishna. Any final questions or comments? Because we're coming up. We're actually almost at the top of the hour. If not, then thank you all for coming on. As usual, it makes this whole service worthwhile, and we always get out of Srila Prabhupada's lectures something better, something more, something to help us to understand the situation we're in, how fortunate we are, and how seriously we take it. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitānaṁ pāvanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vaishnava Thakur ki jai, Go Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo. Thank you all for coming. Hare Krishna.